Hello and welcome to another Nevada Wolf Adventures. Alright, so Sunday was Mother's Day. I called my mom and stepdad Jim to find out what they would be doing and found out they were going to be joining the Lake Tahoe Blue Riders on their weekly ride. So they asked if I wanted to come along, which of course. The only problem is I'm having issues with my chain on my bike, and so I wasn't too comfortable going out someplace I didn't know and there wasn't guaranteed rescue if something should go wrong. So my mom graciously let me borrow her Honda Shadow for the weekend. And it's the first time that I've ridden this type of bike, so we went out on Saturday evening to kind of just get used to the handling and how to maneuver, how to sit properly so that I was comfortable. It was going to be a very long ride the following day, so I wanted to make sure I was at least familiar with the bike rather than going out a complete greenhorn. My stepdad also wanted to find out what it was like to ride a sport bike, so that's Jim up there ahead of me on my Ninja. Unfortunately, it was too small for him. His legs are far longer than mine. One of the places that we passed through on this little shakedown ride was this neighborhood here. You can tell there's far fewer trees in this area. This is one of the areas that was burned during the Angora fire in 2007, which destroyed over 240 homes altogether before it was extinguished. And it's great to see so much construction, so much rebuilding and recovery in this neighborhood. I actually had visited this a few years ago when Jim and Mom helped with a labyrinth that's built down here at this corner, which was given as a gift to the neighborhood to help recover and just provide a place that they could have a park just to, have some peace in that area of devastation. It was really a good community project, and I was glad to be there as they were building it. All right, so Sunday morning, this is the group that is joining. Actually, I'm joining, they're not joining me. But we got Sydney right here in front of us. Hello, Sydney. Welcome back to the ride. I will be following him most of the day. In my rearview mirror, you can see our sweeper. That's Rick. Mom and Jim being, of course, in front of us. That's Russ in front of them, I believe. And I think Dave is taking up second position with Daryl leading way up there at the front. We are on Highway 50 right now. This is going over Echo Summit. Yes, that is a sheer wall on one side, and it's a sheer drop on the other side. If you're actually heading northbound here, it's a great view of Tahoe, and the passenger gets a wonderful view down into, I think it's Christmas Valley down there. But because you're literally on the side of the mountain, it provides some phenomenal views from up there. One of the other places that's a great view is here. This is Horsetail Falls way up there, just being hidden by that very tall pine tree. Some friends of mine and I have hiked up there before. We went up to play on some of the slick rock and just to kind of hike around the area and also pick up a few geocaches that are tucked away up in there. The other bikes wanted to actually take another road that cuts between Highway 50 and Icehouse Road. Unfortunately, it was paved at some point in history, which is a little too rough for our two bikes, so we stayed on the highway and just connected to Icehouse Road later on. This is a really good motorcycle road. It's really twisty, and there are some great sweeping curves all throughout the route, which to me makes me really curious on the history of this road. Why was it built this way? My first thought was it was a rail bed, because it's those kind of turns. They're not sharp. They're really broad and really sweeping. So I was wondering, was there a train that was running down? Was it an old wagon road? What was this road? Unfortunately, I don't know who to ask on that, so it's just a mystery. We did meet up with the others, and this is more what Icehouse is like. It's cutting through the mountain, or it's not mountain, cutting through the forest. So the road just snakes all over the place, and you can see how pretty it is up here. The mountain is really clear, crisp. The sky was perfectly blue. The trees were nice and green. It was just a great day. Perfect day to be out riding on a bike, in my opinion. It does snake around. It doesn't cut through the mountain. It really does just twist and wind. And so we came around this corner. I was like, oh, look at that. Do we get to play on that? Yes, we get to play on that. There's very few areas that were perfectly straight. It was really twisty, really curving. It flowed with the mountain, which in my opinion makes a far better road anyway. It's much more enjoyable. It's not as monotonous. There's actually something to pay attention to and keeps you more focused on the road versus that hypnotic interstate just autopilot. Which is one reason why I really do like taking the bikes out on some of these outside roads, mountain roads, because you have to pay attention. And it was just fun. And there's also evidence of recent logging. So we were driving over some pulverized wood chips, and there you could see tracks and signs and everything else like that. The road was dirty. But we did end up going through, and unfortunately ended up missing the turn. So we had to turn around. We're consulting the map right now to make sure where everybody knows where they're going. And my mom's saying, come on, let's go, let's go, let's go. We know where we're going that way. Back on the road. This is 11 Pines, I think 11 Pines, yeah, 11 Pine Road. We're connecting here to Forest Meadow, which is going to connect up to Mosquito Ridge and then go over to Forest Hill. This is the road that was rumored to be really rough and potholy. There were some roots growing up under the asphalt, and there were some potholes, so you did have to be careful and have to pay attention, but you just went around them and continued on. The road was really, really well done. It was very smooth. There were bumps, you know, but oh well, it's an old road. As we came down in elevation, we actually changed the trees, and I loved this section. It was so pretty. It really did look like a canopy of sunlit green with the sun just kind of breaking through the leaves. It was fun to ride through this, and I was like, oh, I've got to get this on camera because it's just too pretty. We did cross over several creeks, and I never found out the names of them, but we stopped over at this one to take some pictures and just kind of hang out. And while I was standing here, I heard this noise and discovered that Russ had actually picked up a rock in his rear tire. So we had to do some roadside assistance at the place. Thankfully, Russ had a kit. He was back on the road, and we were back on our way. I didn't know which was more interesting about this road, paying attention to the potholes and the bumps, or looking across the canyon at that other cool road. Where is that? Where does that go? There's a road! I see a road. I want to go. This is Forest Meadows Reservoir, I believe. There was nobody back here. We did not encounter any traffic at all, so we took the chance to stop in the middle of the dam just to take pictures and admire the view. There is the lake on one side, well, reservoir on one side, and then the gorge on the other side, so it was a nice contrast between the different environments. And as we were going up, I was just enjoying this particular view, but then Daryl up front discovered a pull-off, so we were able to actually go to a little overlook and just take some pictures. Jim here is a really good photographer, and I'm looking forward to when he actually posts the pictures from this trip, because I love thumbing through and seeing what he was able to see and capture through his camera. I always love looking at the pictures that he takes, because it's just, a lot of them were like, how did you see that? He's got that eye. I usually just cheat, do a video, and the video camera is going to pick it up eventually. As we went on, this was a segment of road, I believe it was described as 35 miles, 600 turns. Sport bike's paradise. And I do want to go back. I really want to go back with my bike after I get my chain fixed. Jim is in the lead. I actually took a while to get going because I was fussing around with things. And he found this pull-off to go look at this great overlook of this canyon. It's one of these, you're on a bike, you're through some brilliant terrain. Don't ignore it by focused on the road so much. Stop, pull over, look, and admire what's around you. Voila! So I had to get off the bike and actually go over and take some video of it. As I was exiting, I was wanting to turn off my turn signal, and unfortunately I hit the horn. Which ended up getting me a chorus of beeps from the other three. Yeah, I made a mistake. But this is the canyon, and wow, I mean, look at that view. Stop, pull off on the side of the road, get a camera. Always have a camera with you whenever you're traveling somewhere. Digital cameras are cheap. Come on, have one, take pictures, enjoy what nature has got to show you. Alright, so now we're about to get back on the road, and like I said, this is a really twisty road. It was very tight, very narrow, and as we're going along, you can see it. Now, as we're going along, I'm really focused on the front of me because these turns were tight, so I wanted to make sure that my line was correct and I wasn't going to have problems either on the outside where there is none or on the inside where there is none. So I didn't really notice him. Bye. As he came around, I got around the corner, I was like, he may not be alone. So I took a look in my rear view as soon as I was able to straighten out. I'm expecting two bikes behind me. Dave was behind me and Rick was behind him. So I took a look. Okay, I see one bike, paying attention to the brake lights ahead of me, and I happened to look. Okay, there's a second bike. Good. There's two bikes behind me, but we're still good. Now Jim's about to pass here, and then all of a sudden he pulls back in. I kind of figured he knew I might be itching to go faster because he does take these corners really slow just to be careful. He is on a larger bike. So I got around him and got around the truck, or the van, and I was like, cool, a little bit open, I'll see what I can do. I'm getting more comfortable on this bike. And just cruising around, paying attention to what's ahead of me, making sure that there's nothing going to be surprising in front of me, which of course meant, ooh, where'd he come from? Just goes to show, just because you got somebody behind you doesn't necessarily mean the person behind you is who you're expecting. Anyways, this to give you an idea of how tight this road was, I did drag peg twice. There are scrapes now on my mom's bike. Oops. Alright, so this is Forest Hill Bridge. This was built in the early 70s to go over Auburn Lake if the Auburn Dam was to ever be completed. This is the 4th highest bridge in the U.S. and the highest in California. It is 731 feet above the riverbed, and at the longest span I think is 860 some odd feet. Big bridge. Took us a full minute of actually driving to get across the thing. I cut out the middle part because it was just so long. Oh look, Interstate 80. We're going 70. Yawn. Ugh. Interstates have got to be the most boring pieces of roads out there. They do offer some really interesting views, though. I have to admit that. But if you get up here, and I believe it's Cisco Grove, there's a chance to turn off the interstate and get onto Old Highway 40, which actually goes down to Donner Lake. Now, we're on Highway 40 now, and we're at Donner Pass, and that is Rainbow Bridge up there, and you can actually see Donner Lake back there in the background. Just today, I was looking on my Facebook, and somebody posted a picture from 2006 where 2 cars had actually gone over this bridge and scared a brown bear who jumped over the railing and managed to catch himself on the support beams underneath. The volunteers who were trying to rescue him actually took a whole day. He spent the night up there, but they were able to trank him, catch him in a net, and lower him down safely. So the bear was rescued, but it was really cool that I was like, hey, I was just there. And of course, if you've got such a beautiful view, you have to stop and look. Okay, so that is Donner Lake there in front. Down below is Highway 40. You can see cars kind of going back and forth. That's the railroad bridge, or not bridge, that's the covered tunnel for the trains. And then you can see Interstate 80 back there in the cut. Beautiful area, a lot of history. Love going up there. The road coming down from Rainbow Bridge is really pretty also. And this is the type of terrain that I love about the Sierras. Exposed granite, exposed slick rock, very few pine trees, some manzanita bush kind of growing up as the underbrush. But there's a lot of character, and I love that about these mountains. It's just one of those, this is what I enjoy. Now, if you've actually seen a few of my other videos, you'll recognize this corner. There's 2 bikes ahead of me, so I wanted to film them. We are back at Emerald Bay. We're heading home now to South Lake Tahoe, and this is that wonderful hairpin turn that is really, really sharp. So with the other bikes, I thought it'd be a good view to kind of show you how tight those turns are if you manage to miss the other videos. Okay, so after I left my mom's house, I headed down, and I decided to go down Kingsbury Grade into Carson Valley. It's just a different road, and this is the lower part of it where they've cut into the mountains, so it was just a different route. I was tired of taking Spooner. Here we are in Genoa, Nevada's oldest settlement, and I'm wondering what they're doing. There's a lot of new sidewalks, new asphalt, new construction. What are you doing, Genoa? Is there an anniversary coming up that I don't know about? You are looking really fancy. This park back here actually does have the Mormon Fort. The Nevada State Parks is taking care of it. So there's the ride. Thank you so much for joining me as I hung out with Jim and my mom over this Mother's Day holiday. I look forward to talking with you and showing you next weekend. In the meanwhile, get out there, enjoy the weather. It's summertime already. By the way, next weekend, track day! Yes! By the way, stupid me forgot to include a map, so here's where we went. And Google ate that part up at Donner. I don't know. Go fig.